Happy Endings by Howitzer. Chapter 1. Perspective. The filly propped herself up on her hind legs, looking through the window of the bake shop. Her breath fogged up the windows, so she quickly wiped the hoof across the accumulated fog, providing her with a clear vision once again. She wanted so much to go in and get some warm food, but without a single bit to her name, she was out of luck. A familiar voice pierced the filly's mind, and she quickly pushed off the window, turning her face to her best friends. Scootaloo was bundled up in a scarf and a hat made by her sister. They matched her coat and mane perfectly, the colors all coming together in a perfect combination. Applebloom also had a scarf, but no top hat atop her head. Her usual bow was there, though. Both fillies had big smiles on their faces, and Scootaloo couldn't keep the smile off her face. The trio had decided yesterday that today would be the free day of crusading, instead of dedicated to enjoying the wonders of snow-covered Ponyville. They weren't alone in this plan, as most of the town had abandoned their typical jobs, instead opting to spend some time in the snow. The Crusaders quickly began their romp through the town, joining in the snowball fights and generally having great time overall, all over town. Like all good things in life, though, the day had to come to an end. Talpi was the first to find the trio, and he and Applebloom were soon heading off to Sweet Apple Acres. Applebloom happily riding atop Talpi's back as he trotted off. Rarity found the duo shortly afterwards, whisking Sweetabelle off to the boutique so that she might be made presentable for the upcoming dinner feast. Scootaloo happily wished her friends a happy, heartwarming eve, but she was unable to feel sincere in her wishes. After all, she was still alone, and no amount of bow-wishing would fix that. She trotted down Main Street slowly, dearly wishing to avoid the confrontation that would be presented when she got home of her adoptive parents. She knew the truth, not from them, and ever since she had found out, she had felt nothing but contempt for her parents. They had lied to her for her entire life, and she couldn't find it in herself to forgive them just yet. As she headed for home, she stopped in her tracks, suddenly feeling like she would rather spend her first heartwarming eve with her new knowledge alone, or at least away from the ponies who had misled her entire life. When she should have taken a right to head down one of the side streets, she instead opted to continue heading straight, a path that would lead her out of town. Following the road for a bit, Scootaloo soon found herself outside of town, sitting atop a hill overlooking the town. The myriad of occupied houses in the town all had thin columns of smoke coming out from the chimneys. The filly shivered a bit as the cold wind bit into her body. A small part of the filly relished the cold. It was a grim reminder of the world and the cruelties it forced upon those living in it. That small part of the filly told her that there was no place for her in this world. Her own mother had abandoned her, and her uncle was unwilling to tell her the truth, even when he knew. A quick shake threw off the accumulating snow, and when the filly moved to sit beneath the tree that was atop the hill. While it offered no shelter from the wind or the cold, it stopped the snow from falling on her in large quantities. As if to try to beat out the melancholic part of her brain, a different part tried to tell her that she had so much available. Friends that promised to always be there, an uncle who she was trying to love like the uncle he was, a mother who had finally come back to her, and aside from family there was always her other friends. Ponies like Rarity and Rainbow Dash. Hey, even Twilight was good to turn to when she didn't mind being lectured half to death. Really, she wasn't as alone as she thought she was. She just had to swallow her pride and ask for help. That tiny naive part of the filly told her that she wouldn't be left alone outside grew quieter and quieter as she spent more and more time outside. She had the whole town at her disposal for emotional help, since not one pony in the town would turn her away, and yet she still waited. Storm or Ace would come to take her under their wing, back to their home to spend the night. Hours passed, but still nothing. As she gently laid her head down onto her crossed hooves, she let out a small sob. The only outward sign of pain she felt escaped her lips when she wanted nothing more than to remain silent. No pony in Ponyville was coming to help her. No pony in Ponyville even knew where she was. After all, this was no fairy tale, and there are no happy endings. Chapter 2. Endings. The unicorn slowly made his way up the hill, his jacket and hat obscuring most of his features from his view. He looked in awe as he saw the filly just sat under the tree, shivering non-stop, and just looking out over the small town. He could barely just make out the small diamonds making their way down her cheeks, freezing before they could fall from her face. She slowly sank under the weight of the strings sapping cold. Each second she sank a bit lower, burying herself into the snow just a bit more. As a sob racked the filly's body, the stallion started to move closer, unwilling to just stand by and watch the filly freeze to death. Hopefully, the town hadn't heard of him, and he'd be able to blend in for long enough to see that the filly was survived. He didn't have very high hopes, though. Exposure to cold of this intensity for this long didn't bode well for an unprotected filly, let alone a foal. After all, this is no fairy tale, and there are no happy endings. The end.